School, exams, the whole system that kids go through in the West is a practice of being good enough. You know, you pass English if you're good enough. You get an A if you're good enough for an A. You get an A in maths if you're good enough for an A in maths. But the real cool jobs, the real great things in society don't go to the people who are good enough. Go to the people who cross the chasm from good enough to truly mastery of something, to truly unique. And it's a tiny difference. And often to someone who's good enough, you can't tell the difference between being good enough and the 1-2% difference that the true masters are paying attention to see that you are great. And it's scary, and I think the more complex, the more connected society gets, the more social media, the internet allows global connection, the more dangerous it is going to be good enough at things, to accept that being good enough is where you stop. So just arrived in Madrid and heading on my way down to the Temple of Debod. What you find here, the Temple of Debod, an Egyptian pyramid type temple, and you find it just in the middle of a park in Madrid. First time I found it, I was out running, crossed by early in the morning, the sun rising behind it, and absolutely spectacular. Never expected to find it. If you are ever in Madrid, make sure you find your way to the Templo de Debod. And got to head up the steps here to see a bit of Egypt in the middle of Madrid. There we go, look at the sun setting behind it. Good color on the face. Tony Onagor would be liking this. Tai Chi. And we're gonna head down the far end so we get a better light. And this week, Saturday evening, I was watching The Voice from the UK on ITV with my daughter, Alexandra, 11 years old. And it was the final round of auditions before they go into the competition of The Voice. And to give you a bit of an idea of what The Voice is about, there are 4 judges who are very successful, well-known pop singers. Tom Jones is one, will.i.am from the Black Eyed Peas is another. And these singers come out, sing a song, and the 4 judges, without seeing their face, just they've got their backs to them, decide whether they select them to be part of their team for their voice or not. And there was some singers, you see a little backstory about their life, who they are, why they want this so much. And you know, my daughter would quite like the person. They'd come out and they'd sing, and you don't get to this round in the auditions without being pretty good singers, so they sing well. All of them were good enough, but not all of them were unique and special. And I think what I was thinking about as I was watching The Voice, my daughter, so there's Temple of Debod there behind, my daughter was very aware of how good these people were, how much they wanted it, but yet the judges only selected about half of them. And the judges weren't selecting the ones that were good enough. The judges were thinking, I need to select singers that can win this competition. And in order to win, they need to be unique in some way. They need to have something uniquely special. So if they sing a song and it occurs to them that another would be able to sing this song just as well, they don't pick them because they're looking for something special. And sometimes a poorer singer, but that the judges can feel in the voice, can have a sense that there's much more potential there, and a bit of work would help that potential get there, they will choose that over the very worked voice, but it's a voice that is so similar to another voice. And I was thinking, school, exams, the whole system that kids go through in the West is a practice of being good enough. You know, you pass English if you're good enough. You get an A if you're good enough for an A. You get an A in maths if you're good enough for an A in maths. But the real cool jobs, the real great things in society don't go to the people who are good enough. Go to the people who cross the chasm from good enough to truly mastery of something, to truly unique. And it's a tiny difference. And often to someone who's good enough, you can't tell the difference between being good enough and the 1-2% difference that the true masters are paying attention to see that you are great. And it's scary. And I think the more complex, the more connected society gets, the more social media, the internet allows global connection, the more dangerous it is going to be good enough at things, to accept that being good enough is where you stop. You know, a good enough writer writes on blogs for free. A good enough mathematician teaches maths to kids but doesn't create something new. A good enough teacher teaches for free. I think each of us over the next 10 years are going to have to realize that the whole school system of aiming at good enough to pass is destroying what is truly important, which is the decision to become a master. And the decision to go for mastery means you actually have to decide to not be good enough at many things. If you try and be good enough at everything, there's no time to truly master the thing that is what's important for you. I was listening on the Ave train on the way up here to Dan Sullivan on a podcast. He's the strategic coach. Thanks to Arno Rippert for recommending me the 10X podcast, Dan Sullivan, strategic coach. One of the questions that he asks over and over and over and over again, what is your unique ability? What is something that you truly can reach a level of performance that you will be unique, that you will not just be good enough, you will be beyond what anyone else, you'll bring something unique. And Dan Sullivan has all sorts of processes that you can go and find online if you want to find out what is your unique ability. But if you can find that and start really dedicating time to hone that skill, and really not doing the things that you're good enough but you don't have the capacity to ever achieve uniqueness. So we're about to see the sunset here. We'll pause just for a moment. See, there's the sun setting. Temple of Debod. Beautiful spot here in Madrid, and again, every time I come to Madrid in the morning, I come here, go for a run past this spectacular, just seeing it with this late evening or early morning sun on it, and thinking, yeah, this is a 3,000-4,000 year old Egyptian temple just upped and transplanted here in Madrid. What a curiosity. Anyway, so there's a saying, Frank Sinatra doesn't move pianos. You know, saying when Frank Sinatra showed up at a venue to sing that night, if the piano needed moving, someone came and did it. Frank Sinatra did one thing well. His unique ability was singing. He didn't admin, he didn't clean, he didn't prepare, he didn't get ready, he didn't manage his calendar. He was there because he sings well. That's it. And what I realize is I spend a lot of time worried about whether I'm organized, whether my email is under control, whether I'm responding well to customer questions, but those are things that are replaceable by others. My unique ability, that's where I need to spend time. And my definition of my mission, Conor Neal's mission, is to have conversations the other will never forget as long as they live. And that's what I want to spend my time working on, thinking about what are the questions we have in life, what do the philosophers tell us about life, what are the stages we move through as we go from 0 to 10 to 20 to 30, what are the questions that a 10-year-old, a 20-year-old, a 30-year-old, a 40-year-old faces, needs to overcome, what ones can they find from inside? There, it's the sun now dropping over the horizon, some music being played. I don't think that individual has found his unique ability. If he was on his unique ability, he wouldn't be playing here busking, but there's the sun gone down. Well, this question, what is your unique ability? Where is the one thing that you can truly stand out on this? I remember we had a speaker called Mark Moses came over with Vern Harnish, and he ran a session for a group of entrepreneurs. And he said, if you look at the most profitable company in every industry, so Apple, IKEA, Ryanair, to take three. These companies, Apple is about 10% of the market share of mobile phones, but 70% of the profitability. IKEA, 6% of the revenues of the furniture market worldwide, but about over 70% of the profits of the furniture industry. Ryanair, again, at year after year, profitable airline here in Europe, Southwest in the US. And if you look at these companies, there are three things that they are absolutely excellent at, and everything else they are terrible. And it's been a conscious decision by these companies to decide if we cannot be 10 out of 10, we're not going to try to be adequate or mediocre. Apple is the most profitable company in the world, but I think it's also the company that has the greatest number of customer service complaints. But their mission is not to be the best customer service company, it's to create objects that you love designing, building, working with. And you're willing to put up with a lot of customer service hassle because of the beauty of the products. And I hope that people who work with me are willing to put up with a lot of difficulty in contacting me by email, by phone. I'm not easy to get a hold of, I'm not easy to get me to respond. But when I show up and I stand on a stage, or when I show up and I work with a team, I hope my ability to have conversations that people will never forget as long as they live, it comes through that's what I've been working on, that's what I want to be good at, that's what I want to do well, that's what I want to be known for, not my wonderful email response time. So sun has gone down, made it in time for a Madrid video by the Templo de Debod. The light is changing here. I can even take the sunglasses off for a moment. And I'd love in the comments below, what is your unique ability? What do you think you are special at? One of the things Dan Sullivan says is ask others to tell you. It's very hard to tell for yourself, but it will be something that you loved as a child, something that you were already doing when you were young. But if you ask 10 of your friends, what do you think I do especially well? In a lot of those answers, you're going to get some clues as to what is your unique ability. So again, have a great week. This is Connor from Templo de Debod here in Madrid. Sun has just set. It's time to head back to the hotel, stick this onto my computer. Looking forward tomorrow to upload it, hear your comments, your shares, your questions, your thoughts.